What's going on, everybody? What is going on? I told y'all, get ready. It was about to happen. Hold on one second. One second. So, what's up, y'all? So listen. I know y'all have been waiting. Don't disregard the drag right now. That's a little I guess streaming thing going on. But welcome everybody. Welcome to tonight's broadcast. Listen, as I said on my post, I've been waiting on this night for I know I said 1.5 years, but I think it's been longer than that. Oh my goodness, it's been longer than that. So tonight I'm giving y'all an inside view. I'm giving you some access to a conversation that my brothers and I, we talk all the time. As a matter of fact, I had the opportunity to spend some time with my brother Chris yesterday, and that's always just a crazy time. But tonight, tonight, I got Tim in the building. I know y'all been waiting on Tim because he's like, if he's not chilling at home, he's in some other country just about every other month, it seemed like. So I know y'all have been waiting on Tim, but no, I'm crazy excited. So here's the thing though. Tonight is going to be it's not scripted. Let me say it that way. When me and Tim was talking actually earlier today, I said, man, I don't want to do a script. Right. I want them to experience us for real. So totally unscripted. What you see is what you're going to get tonight. So I know y'all are ready for this thing. So I'm going to I'm gonna bring him up. So as you are tuning in, though, what I want you to do is go ahead and comment below and let me know where you are tuning in from. I know a lot of you guys are going to be jumping in probably on the replay because you out there making money, but I definitely want you to tune in. Tonight is going to be it's going to get kind of deep. I'm pretty sure it is because we're talking about something that I believe seriously, everybody has had to really experience this in their life, and that is limiting beliefs. So we're gonna wax deep on this thing. So what I would encourage every one of y'all to do is put your questions down there, put your comments down there, and myself or Tim, we pretty much gonna dive in with this thing. So without further ado, I'm gonna bring my brother on the screen in 3, 2, 1. Tim. Tim, what's up, man?
I'm chilling, man. How's everything?
Man, listen. I've been waiting on this forever. Forever. I've been waiting on this for a long time, man. I think we every time we talk, we're like, Tim, dude, we gotta get on the line. We gotta do something, man. But you be in Dubai and Puerto Rico, you be like in China, you be everywhere like every other month, man.
I hear you. But the other thing too is it's hard because like you said earlier, it's just organic.
Yeah.
When we talk to each other, it doesn't matter if it's for 5 minutes or for 55 minutes or however long it is, it just goes somewhere. And usually it's funny because those conversations usually in some way, shape, or form are so synchronistic that it's mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Like the last time when this conversation came up about limiting beliefs, I was talking to you specifically about kind of like this a close of one chapter, opening another chapter, and what that means. And like you said, everybody's kind of going through something, and it was for me personally kind of that investigation of these beliefs. What are they? What are the stories that either we've been told or that we tell ourselves, etc. So yeah, man.
Yeah, dude. Man, listen. people that know you know that you deep. I mean, you just used a big word that just what'd you say? Synchro, what was it?
Synchronicity.
Yeah, that. That. So but no, man. So yeah, but no, we were talking the other day, and just out of the blue, really, the conversation of limited belief came up, and I think everybody has dealt with limiting beliefs in some capacity. You know what I'm saying? And I think anybody that's watching this now, they may say, you know what I mean, maybe I have, maybe I haven't, but I think tonight we're gonna kind of give them a perspective on what limiting beliefs are and really just bring things back into the fold, man. Because I know me personally, and obviously you know my life, man. I done had some limiting beliefs. I don't think there's a day that goes by where I don't have to deal with a limiting belief. You know what I mean? So let's get into it though, man. Limiting beliefs, like what is it? You know what I mean? Like for you, what is limiting beliefs?
Well, before I think about it in terms of like what is a limiting belief, I kind of have to answer that question of like what is belief in general, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because before we label it, like let's kind of talk about what belief is. And I mean that in and of itself is kind of a loaded question. In short, like I think about beliefs. This is going to sound a little bit crazy, but I think about beliefs as like these strong opinions that we hold,
Mm.
and for better or for worse, we tend to cling to some of those perhaps a little too tightly, and I think that beliefs in and of themselves are not limited. I mean, you know, if you think about again some of the stories that we've heard and the way that beliefs are referred to, we've heard it since we were younger. You can do anything you set your mind to.
Mm-hmm.
Believe in yourself, all of these things. But that question of belief, though, it's like, okay, well, what is it? How do I believe in myself? um, and that's kind of the question. um, and so I find a lot of inspiration from quotes, right? So I think about like there was a quote by Gandhi, where it says, your beliefs become your thoughts become your words become your actions become your habits become. And so at every step of the way, you can kind of stop at any point and say, this is a point where I can start to investigate.
Mm.
So whether you want to start with the belief, like think about your belief creating your thoughts creating your words. What's the language that you're using to yourself? And so when we talk about limiting beliefs specifically, it gets way way deeper than that, because in my opinion, those aren't things that you can necessarily see all the time on the surface.
Now, what do you mean? Like when you say you can't see them on the surface, what do you mean?
Well, okay, so again, just kind of take that quote for example. Your beliefs, right? So that's kind of that bottom layer. Your beliefs become your thoughts. Your thoughts become your words. Your words become your actions.
Mm.
So we're already like, 4 layers deep here.
Wow.
So the beliefs are way under there. A lot of times, we have it in our minds. We have in our minds that, oh yeah, I believe in myself, but do you really?
Mm.
Is that what your thoughts reflect? Do your thoughts then reflect the words that you're speaking? And the words that you're speaking, are they reflecting the actions?
Dang. I've never I've never personally like what you just said. Like I've never seen it laid out like that. You know what I mean? It makes all the sense in the world. I mean, obviously, you got 4 layers just off the rip. And like I think we allow life to get in the way so often that those layers become thicker and thicker. You know what I mean? Until it gets to the point where we feel like we can't get ourselves out, right? And a lot of times we can't, man. And so I think about a time, and you like, again, you know my life, man. I think about the time when I was going through, the whole divorce and separation and all that stuff, man. And dude, when I tell you I had some limiting beliefs, I'm sitting up in this boy, and it's crazy because on the outside I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? Like on the outside, I'm good, man. I can wake up every single day and just go with the flow. But dude, when I'm at home, like it's nothing but dark. And I'm like, man, I know I can get through this, but why in the world is this so hard for me to break through, man? And so I had to realize that I had to change my perspective about myself first, right? Before the external environment changed, I had to change what was going on internally first. And I think that's a big barrier for a lot of people, man, because I think one of the challenges when it comes to limiting beliefs is that people refuse to let go of people and the environments that fosters or that cultivates that limiting belief.
Of course.
You see what I'm saying? So like as a whole though, like how do we get on this path of just like consistently breaking through like whatever that belief system is to make it out to what a lot of people call success a lot of different things, but like how do we break through that? Like what's the starting point?
Well, one of the things that you mentioned is kind of these, when we talk about limiting beliefs, we have to understand, we have to shift kind of the relationship with it. And what I mean by that is understand that belief is, like I said, in my opinion, a very strongly held opinion.
Mm.
And from an evolutionary standpoint, like our opinions, they were everything. That was survival for us. So,
Mm-hmm.
we cling to those really, really tightly, because to not be accepted because of, bringing some belief to light, or and if it doesn't mesh with the crew, then like we're in trouble. You imagine back in the day, back when we were, cavemen, if you had a different, or you weren't accepted by the crowd, like, and you were left outside at night, like that was death. You know what I mean? So from an evolutionary standpoint, we are programmed to cling to our beliefs. The thing is, I don't think we take enough time and do inventory on where those beliefs come from.
Mm.
Right. So it's really like an excavation process. And it's a
It's
deep
a
one.
it's a what process?
Excavation.
Bruh.
like break that down though. Break
I
that
mean, like,
down, man. What you mean?
well, think about it. Okay, so think about it like almost like a garden, right? If we want to build a garden over a piece of land that has, say, a building on it, then we need to excavate. We need to get rid of the building. We need to clear the land, make sure that the soil is rich, and make sure that what we are planting is going to actually grow and bear fruit.
Mm.
Um, the problem is that a lot of times we're so caught up in the logical mind that we don't truly understand where our habits, the behaviors that we carry out every single day, where they come from. We're running generally on autopilot, right? So
Mm.
so part of it is increasing our awareness. One of the things I talk to my students about is, when we talk about looking at different viewpoints, if you're looking at the world through the perspective of, say, like this type of lens, then my awareness is that the only thing that exists is the computer in front of me. But then once I start to increase my awareness, then I can start to see other things. And that's what we have to do. And I without a doubt believe that, we're in a place where every single person has to reckon with beliefs on some level.
Oh,
And some of that awareness is recognizing some of the limiting beliefs, some of the things that we don't necessarily understand where they came from, how they influence us, etc.
Jock to my hey Peyton and Parker. Ah, she got jokes. She got jokes. No, man, that's so deep, man, because you touching on some stuff, man, that I think a lot of people shy away from because they're afraid of what, in my opinion, what they will excavate, what they'll cultivate, right? And when you said self awareness, that was huge for me. That was, my goodness, man, that was so huge for me because in order for me to go from where I was to where I knew I was supposed to be, it was a lot of self-awareness that I had to really, really dig in. Like I would literally go to bed at night, man, like with scripture playing in my head. I would listen to number personal development. Like I had to get rid of all that mess that I was accepting as truth in my own life for years. You see what I'm saying? And so a lot of people ask me now, man, like, and again, I'm gonna say this all day long. You know my story. A lot of people will ask me in the past, like, how in the world were you able to get remarried in their eyes as fast as I did, right? And I was like, man, one, it really ain't your business, but two, it was like I spent so much time, man, literally 2.5 years working on me and getting rid of those limiting beliefs, man, because as I was going through that phase in my life, I heard all kind of stuff coming my way. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, who the heck are y'all describing right now, man? You know what I mean? But because it was coming from what I believe to be trusted sources, I was accepting those opinions and those criticisms as my own, right? And so I rightfully so, I chose what those limiting beliefs were going to be in my life. And I didn't understand it at the time, like you were saying, the layers, right? And I began to see how those beliefs, as you pointed out, begin to affect my words. They begin to affect my life. They begin to affect every action that I will pursue, man. And for years, I didn't understand it. I did not understand it. Like, man, I know I'm supposed to be further along than this, but I had to believe something different, man. So, like, one of the things I admire about you, Tim, and I say this all the time, dude, is like you have the freedom in your own mind to switch a thought, right? To find peace in spite of what anybody says. Like you can find this layer of peace, man, that is just like ridiculous. Like when you were on social media a lot, I would see pictures of you like in front of canyons like this, and I'm just like, dude, this dude is living. You know what I mean? Like the journey though, because it wasn't always like that.
Well,
Like what
let me
was
break it
yeah.
let me break it down actually, because it relates very well to kind of this topic. And I'm not an exception. Like one of the things that you mentioned about this self work and this self awareness, like that is really the key.
Yeah.
And what I would say, okay, I'll give you an example. One of my limiting beliefs relates so exceptionally well to the sort of presence, and I'll put that in quotations, that I've had on social media or lack thereof,
Hmm.
because there's a very very prominent sort of limiting belief that I identify within myself more so recently, that helped me to understand, some of the ways that I was showing up in the world, especially as it pertains to social media.
Hmm.
um, so here's the thing about, and before I tell you what the limiting belief is, when I state what this limiting belief is, most people will probably say that I'm lying, that no, that's not true, that cannot be the case, like whatever, all this stuff. But the thing about a limiting belief is that it's yours individually. This is mine,
Hmm.
right? So um, the interpretation of it, the experiences that I have that reinforce it, all of those things are mine personally. So other people probably won't see it. But here's the limiting belief that I had, and sort of put in a succinct way. One of the limiting beliefs that I had about myself is that I did not personally believe that I was significant.
Bruh.
Dude, you travel a different country every other month, dude. Your network is crazy.
Right. So what? So, but deep down inside, I, like everybody else, got these deep layers of insecurities, of uh, programmings that dictate kind of how we live our life. So let's talk about that. So
Yeah.
if I very very deep believe that I'm insignificant, then perhaps one way that I show up in the world is to and again, this doesn't have to be something that I'm aware of. This could be something very subconscious. So subconsciously, maybe the only time that I feel, okay to post something on social media is when I'm traveling or when I'm doing something.
Mm.
Because when I'm traveling, I could experience life in a way that I just didn't feel comfortable. Say, for example, here in New York City. And that's true. Every single place that I go in the world, I will take a risk. I will do this. I will try that. There's almost just no barriers. But somehow when I come home, it was just like work, do my training, sleep, wake up, do it all again. I become very robotic,
Wow.
right? So again, the thing about limiting beliefs is that they are so deep under the layer that it's not that thing of like, let me see if I can give an example. Um,
If you
so
hear
like
that little
so
crackling noise in the back, your little nephew done came downstairs and he rolling a
that's all right.
car on the floor.
That's all right.
Parker, you need to
That's all
go upstairs.
right. Let him roll that car. Let him roll that car. So let me see if I can give an example of how oftentimes we think on a very surface level, but our limiting beliefs can be much, much lower than that. So when we think about limiting beliefs, we have to think about where the belief comes from in the first place in order to understand how it can have a limit on us. So
Mm.
I'm gonna use a fake name. Let's say we have Antonio. Antonio is a young child, and Antonio was born with, say, asthma, right? And so with chronic asthma, sometimes kids will experience flare-ups just anytime, so they're always in the hospital. So Antonio, as a little bitty kid, would always get the message of, wow, Antonio, you're always sick. And then he would
Mm.
go to school, and then it would be reinforced because the teacher would say, oh, Antonio, because you're sick, I need to make sure that you can catch up with your work. And then, so in his mind, Antonio is being programmed, and what he's being programmed with is not logic, because at a very early age, we don't have access to this logical part of the brain. So the message is, Antonio perhaps will translate that and start to believe that I don't deserve to be healthy. I don't deserve to be healthy. And
Wow.
so and so what this means is that as Antonio grows up, then he's going to look for and reinforce that belief, i.e., putting fertilizer on it. His actions in the world are then going to affirm that limiting belief. He never has to know where it came from. He never has to understand it unless he goes digging for it.
Man, that's
So
like you just no, go ahead. Go ahead.
so this is the reason why, okay, let's take this same example. So Antonio grows up, and then Antonio is like, let's say Antonio is overweight. This could stem all the way back to that programming that he received as a result of never being healthy. So Antonio is going to do the fad diet. He's going to buy that next supplement, but he's never going to be able to change that behavior because he's not going deep enough into self-awareness to figure out where it comes from.
Dude, dude. Now so here's wow. Dude, the way you just the way you just broke that down, because the whole time sharing this example, I'm thinking Antonio is going to grow up and thinking that he can't comprehend. He's not going to be good in school. He can't learn this and learn that. But like what's so deep about the way you just broke that down is, again, it confirms how so many times it's layers of this limiting belief, but we would never think that in itself, like that was a complete 360 or 180 for me, right? For you to say all these things were happening, and then all of a sudden Antonio would never believe that he could be healthy. I'm just like, oh crap. You know what I mean?
So
Like,
so so
yeah.
here's why it's important to understand why limiting beliefs are personal, is because, okay, that could be one piece of it. Another piece could be that Antonio is like a chronic procrastinator.
Mm.
And again, the messaging that he heard, the programming is, every time he went to school, the teacher is saying, oh, Antonio, I got to catch you up. You're behind. You're late. You're this. You're that. And so that becomes the seed that is planted. And then the fruits are the actions that happen in the world. So Antonio's late. Antonio has like poor eating habits. Antonio, all these things is so intricately connected that, again, to think that in order to change patterns, to change behaviors, like to truly, truly make change, true transformation, it's so much deeper than surface level.
Dude, that is so doggone crazy. So let me ask you this, because like myself, I know your background is obviously in education as well. How many young people today would you say are suppressed by their limiting beliefs?
A lot. A lot. We're these are some interesting times for a number of reasons. Um, I'll share kind of an anecdote, that sort of a pattern that I recognize. So, in the typical classroom, my experience has been that, when a student wants to ask a question, for example, there's this need to make sure that, they're not taking too much of a risk. So a lot of students will raise their hand and they'll say, this may be a stupid question, but, and then they'll, give the question.
I used to say that a
Or really,
lot. I used to say that a lot, man.
man, I didn't recognize it so much when I first started teaching, to be honest.
No,
It's
but
been
now
the
here's the
last
crazy
couple of
thing about
years.
it. I used to say it a lot, but I didn't recognize it until I started teaching. You know what I
Uh-huh.
mean? Like I give you an
Yeah.
example, man. When I started, especially when I was teaching math, I started to notice that most of the students that did not believe in themselves enough to learn a concept in math, one or two things would happen, right? Because I would always try to pull that out of them once I would start to recognize it. But I started noticing that they would they would go to the board, because I was sending all my students to the board, like Bump trying to figure it out on the table. Let's go ahead and go to the board in front of everybody. Let's deal with this thing.
Yeah.
So what would happen though is they would go up there and you would have those that would stand firm, knowing that they about to get the right answer, even if they got it wrong, right? Then you have those ones that will rock back and forth. And those are the ones that when I saw them, I would tell them put Velcro on your feet, like stand firm,
Mhm.
right? And then you would have
Mhm.
those ones that would go up there, and when they would write it out, they would either write it really big on the board, or they would write it really small so no one can see it. That's when I first started to recognize like they're dealing with some limiting beliefs. So I wanted to make sure that we dealt with that. So a lot of times I would go back to the very basics, man, and I would tell all my students that were struggling mentally with math, I would tell them, if you can understand the four basic principles of mathematics, everything else become easier. And that was addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. And so what I realized then was, again, going on that layer that you're talking about, I realized that most of them that were struggling in mathematics, they did not understand addition, multiplication, subtraction, and division like this. Boom, 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 boom. They weren't confident enough to do it, right? So again, like the reason that I pose that question is because I know you work with a lot of young people, right? Now, these young people are growing up, and one day they're going to become the ones that's leading the path. You know what I mean? If those limiting beliefs are not, as you were, what was the word? I said cultivate, but you said, what is it? Extra
Excavate, like to get rid
that.
of stuff.
Yeah, that. If they don't do that 10 to 15 years from now, what do you see?
I mean, I think it's a that's kind of a tough one, because
But there, but
it,
but 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 there's a reason I'm asking the question, and that's why I said, like, I don't even want this to be like no script at all. But the reason
yeah.
that I asked that question is because, unlike a lot of people, you have an opportunity, and you've had an opportunity to literally travel the world and see it from so many different angles, right? So my point is, because you work with children in Asia, right, or China, you were tap
It's, yeah,
dancing, all that
it's
stuff. So, but my, but my thing is, Like, is it different in other parts of the world, or do you see it more prevalent here than somewhere else?
I honestly, I think the reframe is recognizing that literally every single person has to deal with, these limiting beliefs. That's kind of the first important thing to recognize. So when it comes to my own personal approach, um, when working with students, I'm asking a different question. I'm asking, how can I sort of provide either the nutrients or the fertile soil for combating some of those limiting beliefs?
Hmm.
So in place of some of those things, because I don't know what theirs are, right? But what I can do is I can make sure that students are seen. I can make sure that students are validated. I can make sure that students are willing to take risk and feel safe to do so. And so that's kind of my approach, because again, I can't possibly know every single person's limiting belief. Like I just can't.
Yeah.
It's not
So
possible.
okay. So I know that there are people that's somebody's watching this now, and I know a lot of people gonna catch the replay of this, right? So here's the thing that crossed my mind. Every time we get on the plane, they go through the whole process of, if it just so happens that the plane is going down, you want to put your oxygen mask on first, right? What would you say would be after there's a self-awareness that I have a limiting belief? How can a person begin to turn ship and actually move towards excavating, cultivating that that limiting belief? Like, how do we get rid of these things in from your perspective? And you know what I mean? Like, because you've done it in the past. I know I've done it. And we do it every single day, because again, I mean, there's layers of it, man. So what would you say would be the beginning, the first steps, if you will, for somebody that's serious about getting rid of these limiting beliefs?
Well, I'll go back to the quote that I started with earlier. Figure out what layer you want to start with.
Mm.
Analyze your words, analyze your actions, analyze your habits, and be honest with yourself. Self-reflection is, we throw that word around a lot. Self-reflection, self-care, self awareness, and so many people ignore the self part.
Mm.
We think about a situation in our life and we say, oh well, this person did that and I can't accomplish this because of whatever it is. Well, in this process, in this particular piece of work, it's all about looking in the mirror and continuing to look in the mirror
And
and
but
shine the light.
that's the hard part.
Oh, it's
That,
super hard.
you know what I mean? Because most people look in the mirror and they be like, dude, ain't nothing wrong with you.
Of
And
course.
I don't want to say it from that standpoint, but a lot of times people, my thing is, man, I dealt with for years, and I'm pretty sure that I still like, deal with it. I'm confident Jock will put me in my place with this thing, man. But I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure that there's several times, man, where I will look in the mirror and I'm pointing a finger, but I am denying the fact that the reflection is pointing the finger back at me.
Bruh, the whole world is a reflection.
You know what I mean? Like that sucks, man.
That what you look, put it like this. Here's a good starting place for us. The next time that you have an emotional response to something, you get angry, you get frustrated, you get just take a moment and like figure out what is that showing about you.
Hmm.
Like, don't automatically project out there and think that it's something else outside of you, or that it's some external condition, because again, typically what we see, what we experience, is a reflection of what's happening on the inside of us. And again, shining the awareness on that it's definitely scary. And I would never talk about the work, my self work, as past tense. It is
Mm.
continuous. It's ongoing.
That's
Like, I
that's
mean,
deep.
I'm look I'm looking at the clock now because part of my self-work is, I take control of my morning. For
So you
example, there's
so you go to
nothing first
sleep.
thing in the morning that gets in the way.
So you go to sleep before 10 o'clock every night.
Man, I try to get to sleep at a reasonable time.
I look, I can
but
sit here.
but here's the thing. But here's the thing. I take responsibility when I don't, right? So when my alarm clock goes off, I get up.
Hmm. I'm
Unless,
still I'm
again,
still working on that.
it's always a work in progress, man. So that's again how we have to reframe the relationship. When we quote unquote don't do something, we automatically want to go to the shame. We shame ourselves. We blame ourselves. Why can't I do this? Why do I keep on spending all of my money? Why, like, these are the actions, the
Mm.
things that we see in the world. So the work is digging under the layers.
Dude, that's crazy, man. Because I'm sitting here thinking now, as many times as my alarm clock goes off in the morning. Now there's some moments, I'll jump up and I'll get to it, but most of the time, man, I get up and I turn around and that bed just be like, get over here. Dude, I'm like, okay, okay. I go, man, I'll lay my tail right back down, man. But no, that's deep though, because again, I never, even that alone, I've never processed that as a limiting belief. You see what I'm saying?
But again, it's the action. It's the action that you see. What you don't see, what you may not even be aware of, is, again, the limiting belief that it comes from. Because
Mm,
all action, this is kind of crazy. All action is the result of a belief.
very
So
true.
beliefs are very, very powerful, very powerful.
Very true.
Um, but
Huh.
again, this is kind of one of those things, that statement, the whole, like, oh, they don't teach you that in school. Ha.
Dude.
It's not necessarily something you can, like, teach in. Let me not say that. Let me take that back.
Not 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 to the extreme where you can actually dig deep with it. It's amazing. I was talking with an educator today, and reminded me of me and your conversations several times, man, on how the whole educational system has changed, and but no, I think this topic of limiting beliefs is something that so many people, again, they shy away from because they don't want to deal with the reality that they have a limiting belief, right? But like you said, if they take inventory of who they really have become throughout their lives, I believe everybody would be able to pinpoint where that came from. You get what I'm saying? Like, I personally believe that when a person is dealing with a traumatic experience in their mind, right? I believe you can trace it back, and this is really a firm belief of mine. You can always trace it back to an event that took place either in your childhood or in your adolescent years. I truly believe that, and I believe that's a part of those layers that you're talking about. But we avoid it because, again, life happens, right? And I think a lot of times we try to do things to kind of cover it up, expecting it to never rear its head again. But at some point, you got to deal with that thing if you're going to get to where you say you want to be. So that's pretty deep.
Well, here's the other thing, and adding a piece to that is, I don't think most people steer clear of it. I think the road to kind of figuring it out is not very clear. It's not very clear in terms of, like, how do I do the work? Like, I recognize, like, I can know, quote unquote, I can know that, I need to save money.
Mm-hmm.
But just because I know this, that doesn't mean that I'm going to do it. And so
Yeah.
that becomes the issue. And there's I don't know if you remember back in the day. um
When we used to go coon hunting.
Nah, not that far, not that far. Back in the day, you might have heard this. I don't know, call it a quote. I don't know what to call it. Where people would say like you only use or you only have access to 5% of your brain or something like that. Have you
Yeah.
heard of that?
Yep. Yep.
All right. So here's the deal: is that it's not that we only use 5% of our brain. 5% is more so the conscious, the thinking mind, the logical, the planning, the one that we rely on the most often. Well, 95%, that which is beneath the surface, is the subconscious. The
Mm-hmm.
subconscious is not just something that we can automatically go into and one, know what's there, two, know how to replace what is there.
Mm.
So that becomes the work. How do we get into the subconscious mind? And so the difficulty with identifying either a trauma or something in the past that happened that gave me my limiting belief, we have to recognize that there was a period in our life where we weren't conscious. Like I don't remember some parts of my childhood. I don't remember every single experience that I had. And those were the years where some of these programmings and some of these tracks were laid, right?
Mm.
So these are the things that somehow by doing the work, and the work is plentiful, this is how you start to get into some of those layers. Because alternatively, what happens is those experiences create the chemistry of the brain, and then the chemistry of the brain creates the chemistry of the body. And so many of us are running around with stress hormones circulating and all of these ailments that yes, I would love to fix them, but we're not getting to the root of the problem.
Mm. So no matter what's done on the surface, if we don't get to the root, it's really not gonna help.
Think about your life like a garden.
Okay.
All right, here's another image. So your life is like a garden, and you walk into this garden and you see this big old beautiful tree. And so the beautiful tree, of course, you see the root, you see the I mean, I'm sorry, you don't see the root. You see the trunk, you see the branches, the leaves, and maybe even fruit, right? So those are like your actions. Those are
Mm-hmm.
your actions in the world. This is what you see happening. Now, we recognize that just beneath the trunk, we've got the roots. So the roots are all of these networks that are connected, and they're, collecting nutrients and doing all their underground things. We don't see those, right? Those are
Mm-hmm.
like our thoughts. Now, those thoughts came from those roots, came from a seed. We don't see
Mm.
the seed anymore. The seed is the belief.
Wow.
So what happens most often is that we are going through our life with a weed whacker. That's that quick fix. I'm gonna buy this 30-day program, and then you follow those 30 days, and then right after you go back because all you did was cut off the flowers. Next season, all of them are gonna grow back
Wow.
because we don't get deep enough. And so it doesn't end there, because once you get under the surface, and sometimes, listen, I mean, just consider that question for a minute. Where do the seeds come from? Well, they probably dropped off from another seed that, was once upon a time a beautiful tree, or maybe it was carried from somewhere else. Those are our beliefs. Where do our beliefs come from?
Wow.
Like, truly. And that's a question that, listen, I had a great teacher. I have a great teacher who, challenges me all the time. And a seemingly simple question: where do your beliefs come from? She asked me that once, and I was like, oh yeah, because I read it there. Okay,
Mm.
but where does it come from? Oh, and just literally take anything in your life and hold it up to that question, and don't do it for the sake of proving yourself right. In fact, look for kind of the OSM, the O moment, that moment that's going to make you say, oh snap, I never thought about it that way.
Huh.
Because I mean, we also exist with confirmation bias. If I believe something, then I'm going to go look for what confirms that for me, right?
Man, that's so deep.
So
That's so deep.
so so
Ooh. Wait, you gonna have to dig deep in that, man. That's and I don't look for don't look for what's right.
bro, we want to be right all the time. We want to be right because, again, being right means that we are accepted. Being accepted means we're part of
Mhm.
the group. Being a part of the group means we survive. This is evolution. It's not something that I have to wake up every single morning and think about. That's part of the subconscious. That's part of my automatic programming. It's part of your automatic program. It's part of every single person's automatic programming.
Wow.
So the easiest, let me take that back. um, One place to start is to look at one's actions in the world. Look at one's actions in the world, and then perhaps start to kind of dig and investigate from there.
Wow.
You can also kind of make it like a game, right? If I you know, let's say that I got rid of all of my limiting beliefs today. What am I gonna do tomorrow?
so 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 you're saying, if I'm hearing you, you're saying that there is a benefit to having a limiting belief.
Oh, how else do we grow?
I've listen, dude. As much as I read that gummit, I just wrote a doggone book. I've never looked at it like that. Now I will say, no, seriously, I will say that I've learned how to leverage unfortunate circumstances or events in my life, but I've never viewed limiting beliefs like how you just said. How else will you go? How else will you grow? And I think it's such a profound perspective that you just put on it, man. Because I, again, so I think subconsciously I've thought that, like, man, this is an opportunity to grow, but consciously I've never said, man, a limiting belief is an opportunity to grow. You get what I'm
Big time.
saying? Like
Big time.
that's the running away from the self-awareness part.
Hmm.
You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And I think that's the part that a lot of us don't want to deal with, because it means that you have to change you. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And that's the
Yeah.
scary part. That's the scary part, because now you got to deal with this trauma, if you will, of what you thought went away. Kind of like what you said with the weed whacker, right? You just coming through, but like you're really not dealing with that thing. So
Yeah, man.
so being able to identify the triggers. You see what I'm saying? Like me and Jock was talking today about some of the triggers. And I was like, man, if people were able to identify the triggers, then there's a level of peace that we can command in our own lives. You see what I'm saying? And again, that's why I've always said this about you, man. I admire your ability to be able to just be free. You know what I mean? In your thinking, like you have, man. Let me see. What did Tiffany say? She said, I think sometimes people don't realize they have a limiting belief. Oh, 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
What you
I
what
would even
Yeah, go ahead.
I'd even almost say that most times, most if not all times, uh, people don't realize that we have them.
Mm.
And we can even add a layer to that because there's a certain aspect of like culturation, right? So when we talk about uh, men, for example, in my experience, many of the men that I sort of associate with or that I've ever like, and this is a blanket statement, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Um, I think that men have 100% sort of permission to express mostly one emotion, and that being anger.
Hmm.
And so, like, if we don't have a certain level of emotional intelligence, all we're going to see is sort of this one side, and we don't know where it comes from. It's always somebody else. It's always something else. Um, and so I think oftentimes people don't realize that we have a limiting belief. Again, I recognize that that was a huge blanket statement, and things are definitely changing, but culturation adds on top of that. So if for example, I'm just going to use this as an example. If I grew up and I was always under the impression that, boys don't cry, then I don't know where that limiting belief came from. I don't know, why I behave the way that I do. It's just, this is who I am. So I think. But if I could learn to be one way, then that means I can unlearn it and learn to be some other way. That's the beauty of this sort of brain that we have.
My goodness, dude. Uh, man, we could be on here all night long, man. And my thing is the work. You know what I mean? Like the work that it takes to eliminate those limiting beliefs. I've learned that it is so worth it. You see what I'm saying? It is so worth it, man. I think about growing up. Like we had a phenomenal childhood, man. I mean, like seriously, dude. I think about it often. I'm like, man, and I find myself unapologetically talking about our childhood a lot. You know what I mean? Like when for example, when I mentioned, going coon hunting, like, dude, that was a nightly thing for us. You see what I'm saying? But one of the things that I remember that mom and daddy used to instill in us, man, is they never ever allowed us to entertain the thought that we could not accomplish something. You know what I mean? Like they were so relentless on letting us know like we can accomplish anything that we desire to accomplish. So the amazing thing about it, you hear your nephew up there? The amazing thing about it is going back to what you said, where do the beliefs come from then? You see what I'm saying? Because now, growing up in the household where mom and daddy instilled in us that nothing was impossible, now all of a sudden there's some questions. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, great, great. So here's the thing: is that we're all part of networks, right? So we are getting we I can speak, you and I, we received that message, right? We received that message. It was reinforced, but still at the same time, we're going to school, we're doing this, we're in other places, and so the sense making that the brain kind of, when we talk about programming, I don't know that it's well understood kind of where the message sets in, right?
Yeah.
So yes, we had amazing childhood, and we were often told that, we could do anything that we set our mind to. It's funny that you brought that up because I was actually talking to mama about that.
Can you hear your nephew up there? He
A little bit.
yeah, he
Yeah, I
cutting
hear
up.
her. So
He
she
cutting up.
so so she had asked me recently, um without going too much into detail. She asked me, well, what are you gonna do if X, Y, and Z happens, or what are you going to do if you have to do a certain thing? And I said, well, you told me that I could do anything I set my mind to. So that means if I set my mind to, accomplish an alternative to that, then we good. And so it was interesting because it was kind of that a moment of reflection. And I think even for mama to like be like, well, yeah, I did say that. Yeah.
And that's like that's the amazing part about it, man. But listen, dude, listen. Like I said, we can be on here all night long. I think your nephew up there getting sleepy because he cutting the rug. So we're gonna have to do it again. Now that you done showed your face to the world again. Now we gonna have to get back to it, man. But dude,
So wait, wait,
yeah,
wait.
go ahead.
Okay, before we jump off, sort of a reframe that everybody can kind of walk away with is, to remember an important thing. One, we all have limiting beliefs. We all have work to do, and to reframe it, there's nothing wrong with us. We're not faulty. We're not broken. We're completely whole, and it's a matter of getting in touch with all of those pieces, shining the awareness on it, because then we can start to do the inventory and like the true work, which is perhaps the conversation for another time. Like, how do we do the work?
So 3 action steps before we close off, because now you just open it up. So 3 action steps, and then we can dig deeper on the next one, right? So if someone wanted to know tonight, like, how do I begin the process, what would be the first, what would be the 3 most important things you would tell them to become relentless about, to start on this path of breaking away from the limiting belief?
So the opportunity is to analyze the way you're talking. So pay attention to the speech that you use. This includes the speech that you have to yourself, right? So pay attention to your speech. Pay attention to your behaviors.
Hmm.
What are you doing on a day to day? And then the third thing is to take your time.
That's a big one. Taking your
Take your
time
time.
is a big one, because we want it. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like, we want it bad. You
yeah.
know what I mean? So, but that's part of that growth process, man. Dude, listen, I know you supposed to be knocked out right now, and I done messed with your pattern,
All good.
bro. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it, dude. And I know this is the beginning. I'm glad that the world see Tim again, because you been MIA. You've been MIA to the world, man. But I think, honestly, I think this is a much needed conversation that needs to happen, man. Because again, so many people shy away from it. But it's part of life. You know what I mean? Yeah, no, no doubt about it. Microwave babies, for real.
Oh, wait.
Yeah,
Yo,
for real.
yo, next time too, like, and that makes me think so much about like just technology and the difference, um, a world that we don't even know yet, to be perfectly honest, and how it kind of ties into what you had asked me earlier about, um, what you had asked me about young people specifically, right? A lot of young people, as a result of technology, are kind of grown up with this idea of, you know, snapshots and perfection, and whether we're looking at filters on social media or
Yeah,
videos that
man.
are perfectly cut, um, that's gonna, for all of us that are intimately connected with young people, this is the importance of reinforcing some of these positive beliefs.
Love
Um,
it. Love it. You a
yeah.
deep dude, man. You a deep dude.
Nah, man,
So
I'm just a dude. I'm just a dude.
I love it. I love it. Well, listen, man. Uh, I'm getting ready to shut it down myself. I know you getting ready to shut it down so you can get up at 3 in the morning and go conquer the world. But man, I love you, man. I love you. I love you. I love you. This is definitely it's been fun for me, but like, this is what we do all the time, man. I just knew that we had to at least, bring it to the Facebook family, to the social media family for a minute, because again, like, our conversations get deep. And now I'm waiting on the day that all 4 of us can get together and just like have this conversation. But we have to talk about that around Christmas, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
We'll
Yeah, man.
see.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We just getting started, man. Go and get your Z's, homie. And listen, man. Anything I can do to get your face back out there. Come on, man. Let's make it happen. Let's make it happen.
Sounds good.
Cool,
Yo, thanks
brother.
everybody for checking this out.
Man, love you, homie.
Love you too, brother.
All right.